hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway.
All right, so welcome back to Crash and Chug. Here we have Joe Dominguez, fellow mountain biker, also a veteran. Just wanted to have him on because I like some of his views and his thoughts of that I've seen on social media or whatever. He kind of just shoots, says how it is, and that's something I appreciate, and that's something that it seems to be very rare these days for whatever reason. I don't know, people just trying to play the sides or always trying to be on the good side of things. But either way, I wanted to bring him on and kind of just have a conversation with him. We spoke last week, and so thanks for coming on the podcast. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, anytime. So some of the things that so I guess just kind of real quick, just go into mountain biking. How'd you get into mountain biking?
Well, I started mountain biking while I was in the Army. But as a kid, I spent a lot of time on a bike, neighborhoods. Back then, it was a lot safer for us kids to be riding around.
Yeah.
And I'd get on a bike and I'd be gone for hours.
Yeah.
And it was just a little BMX bike.
Yeah. That's kind of how I started too. I had a fucking Huffy.
Yeah.
And you see this shit on TV, I don't know, Rad was prominent then, and I try to do stupid shit, but it hasn't really changed much now.
Jumping curbs.
Yeah. And then I was talking to Gino last time, and I was talking about because across the street, they used to throw all the fucking
all the wood,
and trash and stuff. So we would try to make ramps off of that. Sometimes I would use sheetrock, and I would learn real quick that doesn't really support you. Yeah. And that's one thing that's crazy is that I didn't realize we grew up so close together.
So close, yeah. I grew up in, I guess, the inner city west side. Mm-hmm. Culebra Memorial. I went to Memorial High School. Mm-hmm. I graduated in 2002.
Nice.
I did more skateboarding when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And the west side. And that's kind of the area that I used to ride around a lot. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, I was about 10 years old. I'd go to St. Mary's University. It's right across the street. I'd ride till the cops kicked me out.
Yeah.
I'd ride to the local police. The university police kicked me out. And I'd come back again a couple days later and they'd kick me out again.
So did you have the long hair and stuff?
When I was a kid, my dad was very, very strict and conservative.
Yeah.
So he kind of reigned over a lot of my choices.
Yeah.
So if my hair got too long, he'd cut it. Oddly enough, I keep rather short hair now, but when I got out of the Army my first year, I didn't shave. I didn't do any hair. I didn't get any haircuts. And, I got pretty Forrest Gump looking.
Yeah, I was the same way when I retired. I didn't really shave. I didn't. I still cut my hair, but then more recently I started to grow it out. Yeah. So right now it's crazy long, and it's just trying to that other side of it, and just kind of give it a shot. Even now, with this, not that I ever had a lot of hair to shave to begin with. In basic, they would fucking make me shave nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
You know what I mean? I was I don't have it. They're just shave it. You know, it's just. But so skateboarding is something I tried when I was young. My mom bought me a Ninja Turtle fucking skateboard, those big ones, and I hit a rock for the first time, went sliding, and it was only just one time, but that was the last time I remember riding it, and I was that's probably not for me.
Yeah.
I liked it. It looks cool. I have nothing but respect for people that skateboard because that's a skill in its own.
It is. It takes a lot of coordination, but I see kids now they're really good. When I was skateboarding in high school, it wasn't exactly great.
Right.
I wasn't good at it. It was more to have fun, hang out with some of the guys.
Yeah, kind of.
I never really got good. So.
Yeah.
But I see the kids now, and they're really good. And I don't know if they're just starting younger, or maybe over time they just became more into it, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the same thing with mountain biking too. Right. There's kids that they just kind of grow up on a bike, with their parents. I do really feel that I mean, depending, I guess, how long the kids are in the parents' life, that the kids will do what the parents do. You know what I mean? I've seen it like multiple times, whether it's the profession or whether it's what the kids do mimic what the parents do, especially if like it's like a passion. But I mean, that's not always the case because I'm pretty sure your dad didn't skateboard.
No, he didn't skateboard. No, he didn't skateboard. My dad didn't really do any kind of action sports.
Yeah.
My dad's from Mexico.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of my family upbringing. My dad was from Mexico. My mom was from here. My dad was very early on, got into construction. Typical, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. My dad did he was a roofer for like 30 plus years or whatever. So he started that like at, I don't know, like 14, 13 years old. But yeah, it was just, I mean, you got to try to find any way to make money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did track, but that was like the extent of his athletic career, which is crazy because I took him mountain biking like 2 years ago and we just stayed on the Greenway. But dude, I was worried because he's kind of older, you know what I mean? He was passing me on the Greenway. I'm just riding and I'm just trying to lead and he just passes me up. So, I mean, I would imagine that there's some athletic ability within him, but it's just in the opportunities and then like he was trying to make money for 6 kids. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my dad. He was always working.
Yeah.
And when he wasn't at work, he would take side jobs. My dad is the most talented carpenter I've ever met in my life. I mean, this guy could make anything. He's amazing. He really is. And he's worked his way up in his career. Right now, he's a superintendent for a company called Keller Martin Construction. He's been with them for like 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And he's 62, so he's nearing retirement.
Yeah.
And more these days, I guess he's trying to spend more time with his grandkids than he did, when I was younger.
Yeah.
I'm not saying my dad wasn't there, or he didn't spend time with me or anything like that, but he was working a lot.
Yeah.
So it was kind of up to me. I never really played many sports. Baseball, that was about it.
Yeah.
That was in middle school, and it wasn't my thing. Mm-hmm. That's how I got into the skateboarding, and then,
Yeah. That's crazy. More so in the sense of, because that's kind of how, like, my dad was. Like, he was always gone.
Yeah.
He worked on roofs. Like, I mean, it was crazy because he started at a company called, like, I don't know, like, what the hell was it called? I forgot the name of it. It's like Shepherd Roofing or something. It was like local. And then that company got closed or something, but he went on to work for a company called American Roofing, and that ended up taking him around the world, like he was working on embassies like in Jeddah, Djibouti, fucking South America, like Cuba and stuff. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we kind of have that, like, just the idea of traveling, and he loves to travel. But he was gone a lot, so that was the nature of it. And most of the time, like, I don't know. I mean, not for nothing. It was just the way it was. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, like poor me or nothing. It was just, that's just what it was. He had to work. He had to make money for the family. And I would say the same thing. He's probably, that's crazy too, because he got a lot of experience, not just professionally, but at the house, because my house was always changing. My mom always wanted to change the house in some kind of way, adding a room, taking down a room. And so, like, I would joke with him. I was like, man, you had to go to fucking work just to get a vacation. Yeah. But I don't know. That's the way it was. You know what I mean? So how do you think that, like what things have you, like, I mean, obviously there's no, where am I trying to go with this? There's no, like, playbook or, like, instruction manuals to being a dad. So
it's hard.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I can talk about my career in the Army. I will in a bit.
Yeah.
But, I was a CH-47 Chinook helicopter crew chief and maintainer.
Mm-hmm.
And that job did take me around the world. It took me everywhere. I did everything that there was to do in Army aviation. Mm-hmm. But getting out and becoming a dad, and, well, I mean, I was already a dad, but, I mean, becoming a dad and the stay-at-home parent full time and making the sacrifices to do that and give my kids that upbringing has been, was, and will probably always be the hardest job I've ever had.
Right.
And, when I first started this, when I got out of the Army in 2016, I told my wife, look, you know, you followed me around. She was in the Army. She got out. We had kids. And, you know, she followed me around and sacrificed her time, her professional career, and that so that we could have a family. When I got out, I said, it's your turn. I want you to do everything that you want to do because I want you to have what I had.
Right.
In other words, professionally, I want you to grow. I want you to be a professional badass.
Right.
And so I took on being the dad for my then 5-year-old son, Matthew. And so when I could, I started school. I finished my bachelor's degree from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I mean, you know that university.
Yeah.
And I was great, graduated magna cum laude. I just never got to the point where I was willing to sacrifice my time as a father to go out and get one of those badass jobs.
Right.
Because I felt like it would take away from my wife and what she was trying to do. She, so, you know, about her career a little bit, she was a microbiology lab scientist. Her undergrad is in immunology, and she just finished her master's degree in medical lab science from UT Health Science Center. So as of May, she's officially done with school, and I am getting my life professionally back a little bit. So I'll go into that in a bit, but back to the dad thing. Everything I tried was to kind of stay local and be able to do the things that I needed to do for my wife and kids so that my wife wouldn't be the one having to leave school, leave work.
Yeah, I got you.
And so that became my thing, and that became my identity, father, dad. And I've done it all, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, bathing kids, doctor's appointments, everything. My daughters, my stepdaughters, they're now 17 and 20. You know, I was there for some weird and awkward moments for them, and you know, it was a little bit stressful because it's like becoming two parents at once, and it is a lot of work.
Right.
So my role as a dad. There, I've done it all.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to my daughters about boyfriend stuff. I've talked to my now 10-year-old son Matthew about girl stuff, boy stuff.
And do you just like keep it real with them and just tell them straight up?
I do. I'm not a bullshitter. I try not to. I try to keep it PG.
Right.
But for my daughters, I try to tell them, look, man, this is how it is. This is how, you know, certain people can be. This is how this is how certain people can see you, and it's not necessarily how I see you, or how we see you, or
right.
the things that you want to do or are doing or identify with or as. But, you know, I just want you to know that even though you're in a safe space here at home, it's not always a safe space out there. And same thing with my two boys. Right as I finished school, my wife, actually right before I finished school, I had these like agenda. I was going to go get a job. I was going to do great things. My wife woke me up in the middle of the night and she was like, "I'm pregnant." And that was my 4-year-old. He's now 4.
Yeah.
His name is Lucas.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures like on Facebook and stuff.
And you know, that kind of thrust me back into, all right, let's start over again. Let's do this. Let's start from scratch again. And I've tried many things. Real estate for a bit. It wasn't my jam.
Yeah.
I think that if I can do the dad thing, eventually, if I keep doing it right, I'll eventually be able to get back into doing more professionally.
Right.
But until then, you know, my wife's, I guess, the professional badass of the family.
Got you.
It's been hard. It's been hard. There's been a lot of ups and downs. Thankfully, I still have my wife and my 4 kids healthy. And for the most part, I'm kind of okay with that. You know, I talk to people every day, like, why don't you come work for us? And why don't you
Right.
do this? And why don't you do that? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I just kind of keep falling back to, is it really worth me putting that stress on my wife and kids just so I can get some sort of professional identity or a title?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it's always like circling back to your why, right? Like, why are you
Yeah,
doing this?
why?
And like, not in the sense of questioning it, but more so like, all right, when I decided to do this, I'm going to do this for this reason, and I'm going to keep doing it. So it's always like circling back. So like to remind yourself, because I don't know, as anybody that that wants to pursue or to become better at something or to be something, whatever it is that is, it's kind of tough to, I don't know, like just see how other people are progressing in whatever life that is, and then kind of to reflect back on yourself and then be like, compare yourself, because that's just what humans do.
Yeah, I think we all do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's understandable, man. Like, I get that. Like, the same thing with me, for the most part. I'm doing a lot of different shit, you know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I know I identified that I just needed a break from the machine, government and what have you, the bureaucracy and all that jazz.
Yes.
And it's for a number of different reasons that we've talked about. But it's also like, all right, what do I want to do now? You know what I mean? And it's not in the sense of me being selfish, because when I first retired, my goal was just to spend every moment that I could with my kids.
Right.
And that didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, despite how many different type of approaches and efforts that I tried to make towards that goal.
Yeah.
So I had to stop forcing it and, just kind of leave the door open, if you will. But that's a whole different conversation. But with that, it's also, the awareness of, all right, so here I am. What am I going to do now? I can't just, stay in this mindset and stay, waiting, whatever. The military teaches you to compartmentalize, and that's something you got to like, all right, I'm going to kind of leave the door open right here, but in the meantime, I'm going to continue to do stuff and try to figure that new path, if you will. Podcast is one of them.
Yeah.
Video editing is another one, and it's just trying different stuff. And that's how I met you, mountain biking, and it's wild, because when I first got out, like I talked about before, I didn't want anything to do with the military. And I mean, granted, this is like they call this military city for a reason, but like no matter how much I tried to escape that, I kept finding that within the mountain biking community.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean that makes perfect sense, and I mean I commend you for doing that. It's not. I think that's one thing that's often overlooked. Some people, I think, for the most part, it's like touted for like females, but males, it's not something you really hear about often.
It's very against the grain.
Yeah,
It's different, and I think it's different because of so many things. Like we used to see stay-at-home mom. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She's still a stay-at-home mom. She takes care of she's a stay-at-home grandma now, actually. But that allows my sister and my two sisters to do what they want to do. I don't take advantage of that. I don't bring my kids to her because I know it's overwhelming because I have to do it. But in the sense that, like, for me doing it, I get a lot of like, oh, why are you doing that? And why is that fair for you? And, sometimes I bitch and gripe about it. But I think at the end of the day, I want to do it. I want to be the one that stays home with my kids. And, I think that part of the reason why I'm okay with doing that is because I don't have to go out and risk that, anxiety or that fear of failure kind of thing with getting a new job, with getting a badass job and just not being able to perform.
Right.
So, it's kind of against the grain.
It's got to be challenging, like not just like personally, but also like culturally, right?
Yeah, culturally.
Because there's, and then for those that aren't like Latinos or Hispanic or whatever, I mean, whatever term you want to use to describe our nationality, but with that, it's like there is a certain pride, right? That men should work, like that.
Exactly.
Because I struggle with that as well. Although I did do it for 20 plus years, and I do have an income, and I still provide for my kids and stuff like child support and medical, everything, dude.
Yeah.
Free college for them, etc. But either way, there's still that thing in the back of my mind because it's something that is part of your value system growing up, is that kind of instilled in you. You talked about your dad earlier, you know what I mean? And when I first got out, people would ask, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? I'm like, fuck, man, I don't know.
Just
like,
chill.
I'm trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? And I struggle even now when people are like, what do you do? I'm like, I don't know what I do. I do a lot of different shit. You know what I mean?
I do what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the part where I'm trying to get comfortable with. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be like, you know what? The fuck does it matter?
Whatever
you know what I mean?
wanna
I'm
do.
doing whatever I want to do. You know what I mean? And I got to be okay with that. And I got to be okay that other people can, like, they're going to say what they want.
Yeah.
And fuck it. You know what I mean? I'm going to.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's always that thing in the back of my mind, like, because I hold myself to a higher standard to produce in whatever way that society says I should produce. So that, I mean, it's a, I don't know, it's definitely complex issue, but at the same time, it's, remembering your why, right? Or why you're doing this or why you're doing that.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of, what people criticize about you is just envy. Like, hey, man, you're retired, you get to stay home. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to do a lot. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a glorious life, but at the same time,
yeah,
it's stress free, kind of.
yeah,
I mean, I don't have to worry about some buddy breathing down my neck anymore.
yeah,
My life in the Army was very much like that. It doesn't matter how much rank you put on. It didn't matter how great of a job you did.
Yeah.
It was always two things. It was never enough, and it was always never good enough.
right,
And after living your life like that for so long, you tend to feel that way about yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not enough.
right.
I'm not doing it enough. I'm not doing it good enough. And so,
Yeah, it definitely like shapes you, and I mean that's good and then it's bad at the times because one of the things I struggled with is like when it wasn't the ops tempo. I love the idea of always being busy, because I didn't have time to think about shit. It was always boom, 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 boom. But then when stuff died down, got quiet, so I'm kind of like dovetailing this into being a full-time parent, so coming out of the high ops tempo into just being a parent, that must have been challenging on its own,
yeah.
and with that, like, how do you, like, what do you do, like, in your off time to try to keep the balance, to try to get time for yourself and stuff like that?
I don't know if I really have like what I would consider true off time or true me time.
Mm-hmm.
I wake up every morning. I get my kids ready. My baby boy, a 4-year-old, he goes to daycare first. Drop him off 7. After that, I shoot on over to drop off my son, and he's in 5th grade now. And then I shoot on over to the gym. So, but the location and how it goes, like, it has me going back and forth like 3 times.
Yeah.
And then, so immediately after I drop him off, I rush to the gym. I knock out a workout. I come home, I eat breakfast, and then I focus on what my agenda for the day is. Either, all right, I got to clean the den, I got to clean the garage, I got to do his dishes, and I got to do his laundry, whatever it is. But, in a sense of me time, I think I get snippets of me time in between tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of always, it goes back to the military, like, we're always doing something. If I'm not always doing something progressive towards whatever the mission is, whether
Right.
it's at home, the dishes, the kids, the education, something, then I don't feel as if I'm doing something. So my off time is the hour at the gym. I come home, maybe after I finish whatever set of tasks, I sit down and eat lunch. I might watch a show, read something on Instagram or whatever. And then, back to the grind, doing things, pick up the kids. In like the last really 2 years, because my wife is in school, I didn't really have a chance to take a vacation.
Right.
So, I haven't been to Bentonville in over 2 years. I haven't really put in a good session
Right.
in a couple years. I haven't been to Flat Rock in like 3 years. I haven't been to Spider Mountain in almost a year.
Yeah.
But those were the things I used to do. Hey, this Saturday I'm going to Spider Mountain.
Right.
Or I'm going to go ride LCG and, things like that. So
What happens if you're like, I mean, at the end of the day, you do what you want, but like just instead of one day go to the gym, go ride LCG or whatever, just to kind of keep that balance and just rotate one time for the other.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just a thought. But so
I try to sometimes,
Yeah.
but it doesn't happen. And when something doesn't happen like that, it's like, I wasted my time.
right,
And I can get frustrated, and then I try to rush to get more stuff crammed into
Got
my
you.
day so that the things that I have to do, it kind of messes with it.
Yeah.
Because I know there's certain things I have to do. Like in any given day, I may have like 4 loads of laundry or 5
Yeah.
sets of dishes to wash. I know this is not big major projects, but
there's still tasks that need to
it's
be
tasks
get
that need to
done.
be done. Yeah.
Because if you don't, then everything just gets backlogged, stress builds, and it's just like anything else. It's a project, and it might seem like a minute task in relative to other projects, but at the same time, it still needs to get done. It's so important to like the flow of your family's, ops tempo.
Yeah, I think it just facilitates, life.
Yeah.
And
So how was all that during like COVID? Like
COVID.
adding.
Man, COVID. I think COVID really. My view on COVID is they got us good.
Yeah.
They got us good. Life got more expensive afterwards. Life got harder. And so, the things that I was trying to do during COVID, it was hard because I have 2 kids.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, because I know a lot of parents, my best friend and a bunch of other people, and even my kids. Like when I was still, like they had to stay home. They had to. I mean, luckily they're in high school, so it wasn't like a little kid. You know what I mean? Where you had to show them how to use the laptop, show them how to log in. And that's one thing my best friend was telling me about was like, dude, like they're telling like little kids like to how to log in and set up like and then be their own like sys administrator or whatever, and it's wild to think about like a 5 or 6 year old trying to log into a laptop, but
and I had 2 kids that had to do that, and my older daughter was our senior in high school, so she was fine. But my daughter in middle school and my son in he was like in 3rd grade. Man, it was a lot. It was a lot. And every day was changing. It was like that first COVID, that first like month where the kids just didn't even go to school. Like, it was hard.
Yeah.
That kind of, I'm pretty sure it set everybody back, but it really set me back a lot.
Yeah.
Because my goal's always been to get my kids to a point where they're, independent, so that I can gain more independence myself, so that I don't have to be, stuck at home or, stuck on the computer.
Right.
My son, 10-year-old son, he's got ADD, and he gets off task really easy. And along with that, he tends to get frustrated, blows up, and then it's like, all right, let's put this work away. Let's focus on getting you back on track. And sometimes I can take a bit.
Yeah.
Kids with behavioral issues, it's a little bit hard to deal with when we got our own, mental health issues that we got to deal with.
Right.
So, it's frustrating getting back on track.
Yeah, I know that kind of put a lot of people like in a corner. I remember like reading shit, and not to go like to this drastic, but it at one point in time it was just like not truly understanding, right? Like when it was all happening, and then we kind of heard like relationships, divorces going up, suicide or like mental health, domestic violence going up. And you would hear it, but you didn't really ever really appreciate it. And I'm not saying this was your case, but I know there was a report of a couple that was in my sister's neighborhood. She lives by Alamo Ranch. I forget what the subdivision is, but there was a guy that I guess was fighting with his wife or whatever, and he ended up freaking slitting his own throat. And I'm like, and that was during like Rona and shit. And I'm like thinking about it, like how bad, like, it's one thing, like, I'm not saying one suicide is like equal to another, but to be in so much like mental anguish that you slit your own throat, you know what I mean? That's fucking crazy. I mean, not crazy in the sense of he's crazy, but like
it's got to be overwhelming.
Yeah, it's like sad, you know, like to have, because if that's your son or daughter, and or even your cousin, your brother, but like you're like, fuck, really? Like, damn, that's bad. But yeah, it just kind of shows you like what the isolation does for people, and then like obviously stress. If you can't work, you can't make money. You know what I mean? It's just this like bombardment of fucking stressors that people weren't ready for. You know, and then yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So that must have been challenging in that light.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably felt like that guy did. I'm sure there was a lot more people, than just him, and it's kind of sad that you know.
And then
I don't even want to go into it because there's so many different ideas and topics and opinions about it. But my honest opinion is that it was a waste, man.
Yeah,
like a lot of it was just a waste, and it's sad that it shaped humanity the way it did. Like people became so divided. People became so self-interested.
Right.
Yeah. Now, the idea is like, oh no, mask up and protect others. But
yeah.
And I don't know, man. I really think a lot of that is just about being able to tell someone what to do.
Yeah.
Being able to put someone in a place where they don't want to be, and so many people were put in that place that they didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately for that guy, he got tired of it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm pretty sure like anybody, like we have a bunch of like life stressors, and like for that, like just to kind of just be like a huge fucking center block, that just takes you to the bottom of the ocean, you know what I mean, mentally or, but yeah, I mean, we can go all day on that, especially with a lot of the research in the news and like that. It's great. Yeah. I really don't want to edit myself, but at the same time, I don't know. It's fucking crazy, and it's wild to think that there could be that many. I don't know. If you talk about like what's his name? Carl Schwab. Charles Schwab? No, not Charles Schwab. He's at the World Economic Forum. He was just talking about like this idea of controlling people through like implants. We can go back to. I don't think this is what. Elon Musk's plan for it is. I think he's just thinking more like AI is going to outgrow the human intelligence. So the only way to keep it from replacing us is to integrate with it. But Carl Schwab is looking at more in the sense of like, control. Like, he says it on there, and it's fucking crazy, and it's surreal to hear and see that it's so like out in the open and talk about so nonchalantly. And it's that's just one example. There's several examples of that. Even reverse back to like everything when they're trying to silence people, even now, like, and that's why we hesitate, right? We hesitate because we know that this subject will be like even on YouTube or anything like that, it will be suppressed. It will be like demonetized. It will be all these things. And it's crazy to be in a country that their First Amendment is freedom of speech. And for that not to be, for that to be restricted, like one of the core values that like why people come to this country and want to come to this country is for that very, because they're coming from either Cuba or like China or Russia, whether or not they're being locked up or whatever for anything that they say that's against the government. Yeah. And then now people are being called domestic terrorists. You know what I mean? Just for
silly, for having an opinion.
Yeah, just for having an opinion. And that's what this country was founded on. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the freedom of people freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of right to assemble.
Right to assemble,
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's like a fucking like a crazy Hollywood movie. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen that movie? They Live. It's a John Carpenter film.
No.
It's called They Live. And it's with Roddy Piper, which is crazy, but it's like in the 80s. And I remember seeing this a long time ago, and I was just like, I really didn't understand it because I was young, because it came out like in the 80s or 90s or around there. You could look it up afterwards. It's some like low budget film.
They Live.
Yeah, They Live. And I don't know if he's like a criminal or what, but he breaks into some house, and it's like a church he breaks into or something like that, and he finds a box, and there's like sunglasses in there. So he breaks in and he looks at it and he's like, what the fuck, man? These are just sunglasses, right? And I think he has on the back. Fast forward, he puts these glasses on and he sees the world for what it is. Like he sees, like he looks at a poster board and it says like, I don't know, like obey. Oh. You know what I mean? He takes them off and it's just like a sign of like, I don't know, some girl drinking a soda or something. But the idea behind it is subliminal messages. Yeah, he watches TV when he puts them on, and like he sees like the anchor man or anchor whatever, and they're like talking, but they're just like in the movie. I mean, probably make it a little bit more entertaining and scary. But there's like a skeleton, you know, not a skeleton, but like an alien, I guess, but like it's like I don't know if it's like an alien, but like they look like a skeleton with the eyes and stuff, but he hears the message for what it is, and he takes them off, and he's like freaking out. But that's what that movie is, and that's just kind of a rough intro into it. But fast forward, there are things that seem like conspiracy theory like ish that exist nowadays. Like, and when you look at, I don't know, like Bohemian Grove, and like you look at, and these are all things that I used to listen to, like on Coast to Coast. I forgot what the guy's name. Yeah, because it was crazy shit. You know, it's like, man, this is fucking entertaining. You know,
that's funny. Conspiracy theories.
Yeah, a time traveler calling in. You know, talking about the future.
Time traveler. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like, but now it's like if you see all those mock-ups and those edits of like who's sponsoring these. Like big pharma sponsoring like CNN and like, you know, it's MSNBC, and then they kind of break them out. It's brought to you by Pfizer. Brought to you by
Pfizer. Here's this alien movie about world domination, and it's brought to you by a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah. So it's just like, and then so it kind of makes you question like a lot of stuff, and then now like I've talked about this before. It's just the name of it is fucking like crazy, like the Ministry of Truth.
Yeah, the Ministry of Truth.
Yeah, that sounds like some Superman shit. You know what I mean?
So ministry implying that it's some sort of a theocracy, or
right?
What is it?
It's like, just
an organized religion or something.
It's the Ministry of Truth is something that the government was setting up this current to control like what is the right information that should be going out, or the truth, the
right information according to them. And it's funny, but going back to the World Health and you know, it's always some guy at the top wanting people to do something, right. It's never like, hey, this woman's struggling with this disease, let's put her on top of this podium and let's hear her, let's hear what she has to say. No, it's always some billionaire dude in charge of everything.
That's kind of like, I guess that's kind of what money buys you, right? But
power.
But it again, like going back to it, like I've kind of played around with this idea before. There has to be like a book somewhere, or like some kind of
manual
playbook, for like they've handed down through, you know, the Rockefellers and like fucking I don't know. You plug in any wealthy, you know, family, and the Koch brothers, all these different like families, right? There had to be like a book handed down from, I don't know, from every civilization. Like when they failed, there's like, you know, the lessons learned. Like, so when this happens, do this. When this happens, do that. You know, it's to try to control something. Whether that exists or not, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't doubt it. You know what I mean?
I mean, you know, there's it's funny, but thinking about social media and these algorithms and stuff, you know, when I was in the Army, we had these logbooks, and they were somewhat interactive where, okay, hey, whatever, this happened to this turbine engine. Okay, does it do this? Yes. Does it do that? Yes. Okay. Which one does it do? This one? Okay. Boom. Now do this.
Yeah, like a flow chart.
Like a flow chart, right?
Yeah.
You click through the logbook and it take you to the next page. Mm-hmm. All right. All right. We removed power plant. Replace power plant. Does it still do this? Yes. Okay. Now let's try this. And, they're interactive. Like you click and play. Mm-hmm. Right. I wonder if now the social media has these built in where it's like, hey, did this guy say this? All right, let's ban him.
Yeah.
Did he say this? Does he believe in that? Let's ban him.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And speaking of it's crazy because they're always constantly updating the terms and conditions.
Oh yeah.
And I've gotten even this morning I put in my story just because I woke up and to it, and I don't even think I was trying to monetize my Instagram because I just didn't think of doing that.
They want to let you know.
Yeah, but it was just like your account ain't. Well, I was surprised they used the word ain't. Either way, it says it's not can't be monetized or something like that.
That's weird. It's your Instagram account.
Yeah, it was my Instagram account.
Monetized.
And I'm just like, all right, whatever, because it's crazy because when I first started this, I went in with the idea like I'm gonna talk about whatever I want to talk about and how I want to talk about it, and I think that kind of stemmed from the military, and it's not for any reason that I could speak my mind, but within reason, because you can't have a whole bunch of individuals saying what they want, and because it's the overall goal is the mission, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you don't, even though you had thoughts, you could, depending on, unless they were like really fucked up, you know what I mean? But if it was like just some like small thing or whatever, and like the bigger goal of whatever you're trying to accomplish is better than what that, I don't know, that part you didn't agree with is for, then you still press forward, right?
Yeah, like if you didn't agree with it, but hey, that's what's best for the unit. Let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, unless it was something like really fucked up, like like something that would that went against your morals or what have you.
Yeah,
but with
like unlawful.
Yeah, unlawful.
But even then, like I saw stuff in the Army where, hey, is this best for the unit or is this best for the commander?
Right.
All right, let's make sure we do what's best for the commander.
Right.
Like, okay, whatever, dude.
Yeah, I know. I have a buddy that he was IG for a big wing. He's retired now, but he's told me all kinds of stuff, like some of the shit that would happen like within the IG office, stuff that would get like just covered up, because they didn't want to impact somebody's career or what have you, or like he's grown since then or what have you, but it was something that was outrageous. And it wasn't like that for everyone, but it was only like mainly officers, which is kind of fucked up.
I mean, that's kind of the way it was in the Army too, I saw it myself. So
yeah, and by no means am I saying like all officers are like that, but there was quite a bit that got like different. They had a different rule book, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Instagram and stuff, like how do you, going back to like, how do you keep the balance with your kids and like social media? Like, is there any way, like, do you put like lockdowns on their phones or?
We did have a problem with my son and YouTube, and it really stemmed from, the school system, their implementation of YouTube to facilitate learning. But I really think it was just to simplify their life and everything that they had to do. Like when COVID happened, we didn't have a playbook. Right. And so teachers were just, hey, this is on YouTube. Listen to this. Listen to this on YouTube. Listen to this on YouTube. It was everything you click on was YouTube. YouTube. And it just, before that, my son had no exposure to YouTube. And like within a few months' time, he was off researching stuff that, like, how can you access this like in such a short amount of time? Inappropriate stuff,
right? Shows,
and it's just, no matter what you do, even if there's things in play, there's always some kind of message that gets unfiltered. There's always some kind of content that gets unfiltered. So it's really hard. And after about a year, with that first year of COVID, where it was constant, well, that's the only thing we can do. We don't know what else to do, Mr. Dominguez. I removed YouTube from my house, completely. Like I went on the computers, I completely blocked it. I went on my Roku TV, and I just removed the app. So like, if you have like your Roku set up with each individual TV,
Right.
you can just go into your login and remove it from your login. So
Got you.
it'll remove from all the TVs. And I did that. And it was good. It was good for a bit. My son started getting back on track, and then I started getting calls from the school. Hey, I had already expressed to them, hey, I don't want my son on YouTube. And
Right.
I understand that, you use it, but, I'm really against you using YouTube so much to teach whatever he's got to learn.
Right.
And, oh, Mr. Dominguez, we saw your son, looking at inappropriate content on YouTube. And I'm like, okay, well, why is he on YouTube?
Right.
And how is that accessible to him? Well, we can't do everything to keep him. Okay. Well, then why is that my problem?
Right.
Isn't that your problem? Isn't that your technology department's problem?
Yeah.
So I should ask you this. Why are you allowing this content to be viewed by my son?
Mm-hmm.
And the narrative's changed,
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll see what we can do. Okay. Yeah, I really have this huge thing about social media where it's like I don't take it serious. So many people out there are like so serious on
Yeah. I think it's real life.
I think it's real life, and I've gotten myself into trouble on social media a lot for speaking my mind, for shit posting, because that's fun sometimes to do. But I don't take it serious.
Yeah.
It's not life. Life is out here. Like life is happening, around you.
Right. This
Yeah.
conversation.
This conversation,
Yeah.
yeah. And all this is going to get put on a media platform.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Facebook where
Yeah.
you have to meet a certain criteria to get views and likes. And
Right.
It's like I think that you ever seen that movie, that show Black Mirror?
I have.
Yeah, so there's an episode on there that everyone's just the show came out, like 4 years ago?
Approximately, yeah.
And everybody's being graded, like on a social scale,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, hey, look at you. Let's give you a score.
Yeah.
And when one lady's life like completely fell apart at the very end, and it was like,
Yeah.
her life was over. Like she couldn't live where she wanted to. She couldn't shop where she wanted to. And,
That's the way China is right now.
yeah, it's insane, right?
Yeah, the social credit system.
And I think 4 or 5 years ago we were watching shows like that, and I was like, oh yeah, that'll never happen. But we're so close to it happening now.
Yeah.
Like-
and it's like everything that I think people think that it's going to be like a policy is going to be like pushed in, and it's going to be like, oh, like we know about it now. But it's like boiling a frog, You're slowly boiling us, whether intentionally or not intentionally.
Right. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, so like
It just stays there.
before we know it, it's here. You know
here,
what I mean?
yeah.
And it's so integrated into our system. Our kids have grown up with it. Like this, my kids, your kids, maybe the kids before are going to be part of that social experiment. That we're going to find out later what the true impact is it of them, because
Yeah.
yeah,
It's going to be devastating. I mean, people murder each other over posts on social media all the time. Instagram
Yeah.
conversations.
yeah, and it's just
Insane.
like, I don't know, man. It's very scary because they can't determine, because that's slowly like going back to Neuralink, going back to the integration of us. That's whether we like it or not. That's happening now because kids can't. I don't want to say all kids. Most kids cannot have a conversation. They cannot sit down and talk to you because they don't know how. They lost those social skills. They kind of just shut down. But if you're texting or whatever with them, they can hold a conversation, and even that's changing. Like so whether we like it or not, that's happening already. We're talking about going like you don't believe that social media is real.
Yeah.
In their mind, they've already started to accept the idea that it is real.
Yeah, they,
like
live,
that
they
is-
live in the internet.
That is their reality, and the mind doesn't know any different. Therefore, it can go back to the Matrix. They're living in a simulation. And then fast forward, I don't know, 20 years. If that does, if we are integrated with technology, then that will be the Matrix, if you will.
Yeah. The Neuralink.
Yeah, Neuralink or another. Because I'm pretty sure companies are going to compete because it's money, right? They're going to compete for whatever that technology is. I'm pretty sure they're trying to reverse engineer Elon Musk's technology, and because those motherfuckers don't want to create shit for themselves, they'd rather just steal it.
Just steal it, yeah.
China does the same thing, reverse engineering all their technology, aircraft. Not just us, other countries as well. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely is scary, and like with my kids too. Like I was trying to find the balance of the two, because my fears are the same thing. I was in comm for 20 plus years. I'm aware of the cyber threats. I'm aware of like all these different things. I'm not saying that I know everything, but I am aware of a lot of the things that would come that were out there that most people don't know of. In the military, we are, what's the word? We are privy to things that are not really, out on the outside. You can talk about, weapon systems that people don't know about on the outside, vice versa. I can talk about comm threats, people hacking fucking baby monitors, talking to kids, and all kinds of shit. But anyways, fast forward or rewind a little bit. When technology was in it, like given to my kids as early as age 4, I was like, not in agreement with it, but that was my ex's choice, and with that, I had questions, that wasn't really handled in the best way that I feel that could have been handled. But either way, there was no lockdowns. There was no restrictions on what content that they had coming into them.
It was just free flowing.
Yeah. So fast forward, still trying to keep that balance and control. I guess is technically at the basis of it is control, but I feel that parents' job is to, like you were talking about your dad earlier, how he tried to, because he has experience of his own, he's trying to help you, help mold you and have restrictions, because therefore those restrictions will kind of keep you from making whatever mistakes that he may have made, or vice versa, trying to give you the shortcuts, if you will. And then with my kids, I was trying to do the same thing, is not necessarily to keep them out of that because that's not possible to just keep everything away from them. But at the same time, it's like try to keep it balanced, like, hey, let's restrict this time and let's have some outside time, or let's go on a trip. Let's do this, let's do that. And then like, I wouldn't allow them to have their phones, you know what I mean? Because I know that's all they did at their house. And it was me trying to just protect them and trying to keep that balance. And most of the time when they're here, dude, they just slept. Because if you have all that sensory input all day, every day,
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. You have school, you have this, you have that, you have TV. You're constantly intaking information, and your brain never has time to rest. So the first opportunity it's going to have is going to fucking sleep, to try to reset. But anyways, yeah, I mean, that's like a mouthful, and I don't even like.
It's a brainful.
yeah, and I'm not even hitting all the things, but at the same time, it's also with the awareness of like that, and that's why I asked you that question initially. Was like, how do you? Because at some point, I start to feel like, am I being too much? Am I? Yeah. Because going back to self accountability, like, am I the problem? And if I am the problem, how do I correct that, or how do I adjust? Yeah. And I always seem to make the adjustments. But with that, it's also like talking to parents like yourself that are forward thinking, and they try to like, hey, I see this could be a path in the wrong direction. How do I, restrict this, or how do I curtail it so that way it doesn't become a problem? And it's refreshing to hear that other parents are actually parenting and not trying to be the cool parent.
Right, the friend.
Yeah,
the dad friend. Yeah. You mind if we take a break?
No, go ahead, man. Do you gotta take a leak?
Yeah,
me too. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so we're back. We just had to relieve ourselves a little bit, drinking this water, trying to hydrate or die. So, I don't know. I mean, kind of going back to like your Army career and stuff like that. I know that's kind of one of the things that's kind of shaped you. I'm pretty sure you try to give some of those lessons learned to like your kids and stuff. Like, I know you kind of talked about like, working on helicopters and what have you, helos.
Yeah.
So, and that's a world that, even though I saw those on deployments, I saw them like on my bases, wherever I was at, I never really I've never turned wrenches on them. I've got a couple rides on them, but I've never, that was about it. Like, what is that world like?
So in the Army, the aviation world, it's kind of like its own world. Obviously, there's the Army is primarily helicopter. There are some fixed wings, but they're fixed wing assets are usually like the military, the MI units and stuff like that. But I was a CH-47 Chinook helicopter crew chief and maintainer, and the reason it's called that is because in the Army it's the same MOS. So I was a 15 uniform, and in that I was a general maintainer with the capabilities of also being a flight engineer crew chief. So basically how it starts off is the Army just trains you how to turn wrenches. They don't train you how to fly. They don't train you how to do any of that. You learn how to turn wrenches at Fort Eustis in Virginia. It's about 16 weeks long, and it's just part of Army, whatever training, AIT. So when you get to your unit, for the most part, most of the people go to maintenance, helicopter maintenance. Every once in a while, you get staffed out, or you get to be lucky enough to go to a flight company.
Right.
So basically, in the maintenance side, it's kind of a love and hate relationship with turning wrenches, because it can be excruciating. It can be daunting. You can have long hours. You can have short hours. You might go in for an aircraft wash, and you leave doing multiple corrosion inspections because we found corrosion because we're 5 miles from the ocean. Turning wrenches for me, I learned a lot about turning wrenches on my own cars before I was in the Army, and so it's kind of something that really caught my attention. My uncle was an Air Force Vietnam veteran. He worked on multiple aircraft. How do you call it? Airframes. And so, he's really the only person in my life that was ever in the military. So when I joined the Army, I really wanted to do something different.
Right.
So I picked this job.
You had a choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a choice. I picked this job. I was in the Army for 12 years. I spent the majority of it in aircraft maintenance. And I was in every unit from Colorado to Korea to Savannah. Came back to Fort Carson, Fort Bliss, multiple deployments. Korea, was in Korea. What I learned about Army aviation is, I think it's shaped me in so many ways other than just, turning wrenches. I try to turn wrenches on my own vehicles from time to time. I do my own motorcycle maintenance. I do, as much of my own maintenance as I can. The only exception is when I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like changing my oil.
Right.
Get it done. For the most part, I do it all. I guess regimentation, like being regimented, like having a specific way that I do things, and I incorporate that to my life. Like, hey, I got to wake up at 5:30 to 6.
Right.
I make coffee. I go wake up my boys. I let them wake up. I let them watch TV. I let them do whatever. Just limber up.
Right.
And then I go downstairs. And I start getting dressed. I start getting ready for the day. So my career, I saw everything, man. So many things shaped me, how I live life. I saw the good and the bad. I saw a lot of good, and I saw a lot of bad. Great things that I've seen, like, in the Army, just people being recognized for what they've done. People being given the credit for what they've done. And I've also seen, people get crushed for something that they didn't do.
Right.
That's sad, but That's life in the Army. Everyone that's been in the Army, that's kind of the way it is. Like, you see it happen. Sometimes it happens to you, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get lucky. But as a Chinook crew chief and maintainer, a lot of us call ourselves hookers because, the aircraft is primarily a cargo helicopter. 3 aircraft, 3 cargo hooks, 1 forward, center, and aft. So, your typical career, you might go in and out of maintenance and flight. So that's kind of what I did. Spent a little time in the flight company. Went back to a maintenance company.
Right.
Spent a little bit of time in a flight company.
What was your ops tempo like for like deployments and stuff?
I guess it just depends. It's regular army op tempo. Deployments a year long. TDY. You come back from deployment, TDY, get ready to redeploy. It's not any different than the rest of the Army in that the op tempo is, I guess, the schedule of deployments, and schedule of movement, troop movement. It's the same. But to a sense, it's always, aviation assets are always needed everywhere. And in like a modular division, like let's say the 4th Infantry Division, you have 1 combat aviation brigade, and then you have 4 other brigades. You have the, striker brigade, infantry brigade, artillery, but you only have 1 aviation brigade that supports, 20,000 people.
Sorry, battalion.
Yeah. So in that 1 aviation brigade, you have 1 fleet of Chinooks. So you have a specific number of Chinooks, and they're tasked with doing everything.
Yeah.
The Army only has a certain amount of Chinooks, so we have to keep those because they are, like, to a point, the workhorse of the Army.
Right.
They do all the heavy lifting. They do all the heavy troop movement. 30-plus people. 25,000 pounds of cargo. It's there's a lot of time spent turning wrenches.
Right.
And that's why I say it's a love-hate relationship. You go in 6 a.m., you skip PT. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you still go to PT, and then you go right to the hangar right after PT. Go get breakfast, be in 30 minutes later. Right to that, Sergeant. All right.
Right.
We got shit to do. That's Army aviation. We always got shit to do. We always got wrenches to turn. There's always an aircraft that needs fixing. So it never ends, and I guess it's kind of like going back to it's never good enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's never good enough.
I kind of heard the same thing from like crew chiefs that I've known. I mean, F-15s, 16s, it doesn't matter. Like, they're, I mean, like most of us, their life revolved around the mission, and if an aircraft had to have like so many sorties, they had to hurry up and get it up, with a certain amount of time. So that meant like working 18, 19, every day until they got to where it needed, and then they have like I forgot what they call it, where they track like how many aircraft were up and running. I forgot what the system is called.
Like a production control
system.
So
they have like the commander every staff meetings. Like,
every morning.
How come? Yeah, so how come we only have 10 aircraft up? We should supposed to have like 16 or whatever.
Yeah.
So then that's always pushing it. You know what I mean? Like the ops tempo. But I remember them talking about like as I don't know the same for you, but the satisfaction they would get like once they got that aircraft and they would see it leave.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh, thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, here's the next phase.
Yeah, and then like the other thing, like if they ever, they couldn't find a wrench or a socket or whatever, they had to like rip apart the entire aircraft trying to find it.
Yeah, that's called foreign object debris.
Yeah.
And you can have like I've seen people's wedding ring. Hey, I lost my ring, Sergeant.
Yeah.
Tear the aircraft apart.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Yeah.
Do a toolbox inventory afterwards. Where the fuck's my quarter inch open wrench?
Right.
Here we go. Let's take everything apart. We just did. It's that's important. You got to double check that.
Yeah. And like FOD walks and all that stuff. That's part of the like I don't know how often they would do that, but it was pretty often. And then you have emergency landings and stuff like that, and so it was just all kinds of. It never seemed like it was a dull moment.
It never is.
Yeah, there's always something going on, and with that, it was also like the crew chiefs had like a different culture. My job even within comm, we had different cultures. You know what I mean? Like we were cable dogs, so that was just like we were like people always getting in trouble. We were like always out in the field working on heavy equipment, digging trenches, and splice pits, all kind. We're always dirty. And then like the sister shop, they were like telephone maintenance. They were kind of a little bit more clean. You know what I mean? Because they never really got in the field. They were always, for the most part, inside working next to the commander and stuff.
Yeah.
So there was always, and then the flight line, it was just like first name basis. It was just kind of like their uniforms weren't like really up to speed as far as like the whatever the standards were. You know what I mean? Like. And then like when the new uniforms came in, like when the boots were tanned, I don't know, remember that? Their fucking boots were like black. Yeah, because
aircraft cheese.
Yeah, so they had to change that. There was all these different things that like factored into it. But yeah, it's just different worlds. Medical was different too. They were just a little bit more. I don't know, like they were more lax, more chill, more like compassionate. But I guess thinking about it now, it makes sense because if you're like. On the bedside, somebody's recovering. You can't really just be like a fucking dick. You know what I mean? Because they're in like the most vulnerable state. You know what I mean? And you're gonna be like, "Hey, fucking suck it up." You know what I mean?
Suck it up.
Yeah, it's just like
in your chest.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So, I mean, there's reasons for all that. You know what I mean?
I was once laying in a hospital bed with a hole in my chest, and a fucking CG 2-star general comes up to me, pokes me in the chest, says, "Hey, get back to work."
Yeah, right. What the fuck you doing laying there? Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense, and those are things I didn't really like start to connect until afterwards. I kind of just compared and contrast like right away, like like I don't know, I didn't understand it whenever I go to medical, and they would, be by first name basis and just kind of just be like it I don't know, maybe because there's a lot of different. Yeah, it was just different. Is all.
Weird. But I've experienced that as well, like I said, I was in the Army. I was 12 years. I was a staff sergeant E6. There was one time where I was sitting there, and dude, I felt like I was dying, and there was something going on there. And I should have gone to the ER, but I went to the troop medical clinic, TMC. There was an E4 at the desk, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, look, hey, I can't come back later. And the guy goes, why? I'm like, what the fuck do you mean, why?
Yeah.
What do you mean, why? They didn't fucking ask the staff sergeant why, specialist. Yeah. Like, what do you mean, why? Like, dude, if you can't help me, just say you can't fucking help me. I'll go to the ER. Like, don't fucking question me why. Yeah. Why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm doing shit, making shit happen, Yeah. I'm trying to get back to work because first sergeant needs his fucking aircraft up. Yeah. And that's the way it is. But, it was weird. It's weird. But, another staff sergeant, hey, don't talk to my guys like that. All right. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different, right? Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, it's just like the Air Force is different beast as well. I mean, you had your good leaders, you had your shit leaders, but I think the crappy ones taught you more about yourself than the good ones, or vice versa. I think they were equally true. But I know you were telling me about like when we were talking about last time, like just this idea, like when you were riding your bike in Korea and you got chased, like, you had fucking senior NCOs and stuff trying to run you off the road on your mountain bike.
That's a good story. I was at Camp Humphreys, Korea. That's really back to the mountain biking. That's really kind of how I got into mountain biking, like hard. 2007, I was a specialist. Got to Korea. Could not drive a car. We weren't allowed to. Okay, cool.
We weren't either.
Everybody rode bikes. So I go out and buy a mountain bike. And I had a little bit of exposure with mountain biking before, so I knew I had to get a good one, a decent one. So I did. I got a decent, $500 Shrek or something like that. I don't remember. And I'm riding. I start riding more. I start loving it. A few months later, I'm riding through Camp Humphreys, Korea has this weird perimeter road where it goes downhill and it goes up and kind of towards the front gate. Speed limit is 20. I'm hauling ass, man. I'm trying to get to the front gate because there's a girl that I need to meet or something. Yeah. Whatever. I don't know what it was back then, but it was always something. I had some drinking to do. Yeah. And I'm riding, hauling ass. Boom, I'm hauling ass. I got my helmet. I got my gear. I got everything I need to be Army standard. And I get to the front gate. About 100 feet before the front gate, the MPs pull me over. hey, do you know why we pulled you over? No, I'm wearing my helmet. I'm doing everything right. Do you know how fast you were going? Negative. Like, you were going 37 miles per hour. Like, I was going 37 miles per hour? What? Yeah, fucking 37 to 20. Yeah.
They give you a ticket?
No, they just had me do gate guard with a sign that said, don't be speeding on your mountain bike. But that wasn't the only issue I had. There was another time where, I was hauling ass and trying to get to the front gate again, jumped a curb. This fucking dick-ass sergeant major, fucking, next time I see you do that shit, I'm going to run you over. Like, what? Are you serious? You're going to run me over? You're going to fucking kill me just because you don't like what I'm doing? That's the bad thing about the Army sometimes. You get these guys that they got too much rank and they don't know what to do with it. And they get used to telling people what to do.
There was a guy, it was a senior master sergeant on a deployment, and he was literally just sitting there, and this was at the AOC, and he was just literally sitting there, like, watching parking spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, fucking writing people up, whoever parked there. He would just be sitting there waiting and just fucking write people up. I parked there because I was there, like, to fix something, and he started fucking screaming at me, and I fucking moved the truck. I was like, you're fucking here all day just fucking writing fucking tickets and shit? But yeah, man, it's just people that don't have nothing better to do and just want to use their power. And he had a cup of coffee or whatever the fuck he was drinking, just sitting there. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. Just some people just, I mean, kind of going back to earlier, like power. They want to control a situation. Yeah. And I mean, it's just the most humans' idea of like controlling people. I'm not really sure what it is, but that's just crazy to me that you're here fucking sitting here doing nothing and just writing fucking tickets.
Yeah. Like there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. So, like, you were mountain biking in Korea, and that you kind of just like stuck with it when you got out.
Yes. So 2007, as soon as I got back to the States, I kind of tried riding around post, but where I was stationed there at the time was Hunter Army Airfield, Savannah, Georgia. There wasn't any really real trails. There was no mountains. It was just swamp, and it was always like nasty.
Yeah.
So I gave it my honest go, and I didn't really stick it out. Put the mountain bike away. I ended up selling it like a year and a half later. So yeah. But I did after Savannah. Actually, let me take it back a bit. When I got to Fort Stewart in process to go to Third Infantry Division. Everybody that goes through the 160th or Third Infantry Division or the Ranger Battalion goes to Fort Stewart to in process at Hunter Army Airfield. So when I got there, I met my wife.
And what is Hunter Army Airfield?
In Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, okay.
And Fort Stewart is the home of the 3rd Infantry Division.
Got you.
That is about an hour south. 45 minutes to an hour south, depending on traffic.
Yeah.
Of Savannah. So my wife, met her there. She was stationed at Fort Stewart at Wayne Army Community Hospital. She was a lab tech there. And I got stationed up at Hunter Army Airfield. We met. Yeah. We'd go back and forth. I'd come to her, she'd come to me.
Yeah.
But we ended up getting married. So, but after that, so back to the mountain bike. After that, I sold it, moved on to Colorado, and I had another Trek fuel that I acquired somewhere. I think someone dumped it on the trash can. Yeah. Like, as they were moving, they left it by the trash can. I'm like, hey, I know how to put these back together. Let me fix it. Fixed it. And I rode a little bit once we PCS to Fort Carson. But I never really had the time much after that. After that, I moved to... that was 2012. We moved to Fort Carson. And in 2014, I got stationed at Fort Bliss, which is the armpit of the Army, for many reasons. And then I got... after that, I got out, 2016. My first 3 months, I was just sitting there where my wife and I lived right across the street from a gym off of Bandera. It's called Your Fitness or something like that, 24/7 Your Fitness. I live right across the street from there. started hitting the gym, and then one day I'm just like, you know what, I miss riding. Let me get a mountain bike.
Yeah.
And then I went and got me a Cannondale Trail 3, and I started riding again in 2016.
Nice.
Yeah. And then that one got stolen. I used the insurance money to go get one of those, what are they, Ghosts or something?
Oh, yeah. It's a German bike.
Yeah, the German bikes. I didn't like it. It was weird.
Also.
Geometry was weird.
Oh.
It was strange.
Yeah.
It was like a 120 or 130 mil travel bike.
Yeah.
I know now that it was probably more XC oriented.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I had it for about a month, and they had this policy back then that if you didn't like it, you had to be about a year to return it. So I returned it. I took that money. I went and bought my Bronson.
Nice.
2017 or 18. I still got that Bronson. Still got it. Same
Nice.
one.
Yeah, my first bike was a Norco Fluid. That was a cross country bike. I've since done a whole bunch of shit to it, but it's for the most part, like, it's still an enjoyable bike. But I know one of the things you do is you're a barber, right?
Yes. So
did you cut hair in the Army?
Not technically. But, you know,
Or just like in the barracks?
Yeah,
or
in the
whatever.
barracks. I wasn't actually like a barracks barber, but hey, let me use your clippers, and hey, let me fucking cut your hair. During deployment, hey, you know, because of our op tempo back to my job, like during deployments, it was always like, dude, 18-hour days, dude.
Yeah.
18-hour days, like every day, dude. We had 32 helicopters during a deployment that we would fix, and they belonged to different units, and there we were, turning wrenches all day, every day.
Yeah. So you didn't have time for a haircut?
Yeah, we didn't have time to go wait 2 hours to go get a haircut where we need to go, or like if we were at like Fob Fenty or Bagram.
Mm-hmm.
Bagram's easier, but Fob Fenty, like you might wait 2 hours to go get a haircut. Barber, you're still gonna wait an hour to get a haircut.
Yeah.
There's like 50 fucking people trying to get a haircut. Oh, we just started, you know, using the fucking same clippers to cut everybody's hair.
Yeah.
They weren't pretty, but
Yeah.
hey, that was kind of like the first exposure.
I used to do that too, but I remember I used to have to plug them into the transformers. And sometimes I would fuck them up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They would just like, bang, turn really loud.
Yeah. So, I got into barbering one day because fellow veteran said, hey, man, you know, I noticed that you're trying to do certain things, and, you know, maybe you give it a shot. Go to this barber college. And like a week later, I talked to my wife. I'm like, hey, man, this is something that, you know, interests me, that I kind of wanted to do, and give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I went in and enrolled over at Gloria's Barber College. It's off of Bandera. And I got that knocked out. You know, got my license. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
So I got my license in like 2019. You know, I was at Gloria's for about a year cutting there. I really kind of learned to cut the basics. My first job was... I'm pretty sure a lot of your Air Force guys know razors and rims. So I cut at razors and rims for about 6 months. And my wife started her master's degree around 2019 to 20. Like that summer was the last summer. So I hung up my clippers for a bit, at least in a shop.
Yeah.
Because I tried to work a shop, but
Yeah.
the barber hours, shop hours are hard when I got to pick up my kids by 6. You know, I'm sitting at the shop. I got to go. You know, everybody stays till 7, so I'm just like, I got to go.
Yeah.
I got to go drop off my kids. I'm just gonna put my 2 weeks in and just call it.
Yeah.
You know, I have a den in my house. It's probably about the same size as this den. Took out the carpets, put it indoors. It's a shop, man.
Yeah.
Barber shop in my house.
Nice.
I got a chair. I got every tool I need now. It's set up like a barber shop. I got a TV. I got products there that I have.
Nice.
If anybody needs it.
Yeah. So where can they reach you, like, for barber haircut?
Well, actually, starting tomorrow, I'm going to be finally moving back into a shop. Last year, I worked at Well Blended, which is owned by David Gonzalez. He's a pretty cool dude. He originally used to be located all over on UTSA Boulevard. I don't know what the place of that is called now, but David moved his shop to Huber and Babcock, and I did great, man. I worked with a couple friends of mine, all most of them veterans. David's not a veteran, but he's a shop owner, and I did great there. I loved it. It's just back to the grind of having to pick up the kids by 6, having to rush out. It was hard. It was hard to really get into the shop and then at 5 o'clock leave to pick up my kids on time. So I left there, and I left it there like in this really big depression thing, and I wasn't sure if I was ever gonna work in the barbering industry again. And a friend of mine reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know you're going through some shit. I could use you at my job," and I gave it a shot. And I went to go work at Ferrari of San Antonio, delivering cars for a bit. While I was there, I got to drive everything I ever wanted to drive. Ferraris, 488s, F8s, Huracans, Lamborghinis, Aventadors. I mean, I drove it.
Wow.
Drove them. It was cool. Delivered them. It was a great job. But I think at the end of the day, it's the op tempo and the culture is just it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
That's one thing I find, and you're not the only one. Myself included, my cousin, a lot of veterans. That's one of the biggest things they have is trying to find a place where they fit.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, like trying to line up with your ideals, your what you feel is comparable to whether it be the military or whether it be, I don't know, like there's some type of thing that we're all looking for, and I don't know what, like it maybe it's the same for all of us. Maybe it's that camaraderie, maybe it's that brotherhood, maybe it's the idea of mission, maybe it's the same high that we got, the ops tempo that we were working in, like
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, the level of importance at what we were doing, that idea, that belief,
that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, but
even if it's for like a small mission, like hey, let's get this aircraft out the door.
And I was talking about this with Liz Aruda that I had on. She was talking about like going after from a deployment and then going back to just regular ops, or like not necessarily ops, but she was working in the cache in the green zone.
Combat Support Hospital.
Yeah, so they had all the, not only like our they had civilians coming in there that were blown up. They had military folks. They had all kinds of, like, they got them all, and going from that and then going back into garrison, and it's just like some dude that I don't know, he like fucking sprained his ankle or something, or broke his ankle, and he was being all like, his mom wanted to go visit him, and he was making his mom carry him and shit like that. So she was just like, it was hard for her to have compassion for that dude. She wanted to fucking grab him by the neck and stuff. But it's I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it's that kind of the same thing where you go and you work in a whatever setting, and the people that work there, they just don't have that same work ethic or that same integrity or whatever, what have you. I've heard of guys that got a job, they worked in a factory for whatever, like, or some type of factory, and they weren't doing shit, so they just started sweeping. And some of the other guys like, "What are you doing? You trying to show us up, and you trying to do this?" And he's like, "What the fuck, man? I'm just standing here. I'm trying to stay busy." So it's just that I don't know. I'm not saying everyone's like that, but I know that's one thing that I find that a common struggle is with vets, is trying to find their place back into society for various reasons.
Yeah, it's really hard to find people that think like us, work like us, talk like us, fuck around, joke around like us.
Yeah, don't get offended easy.
Don't get offended, We're like, what, 1 to 3% of the population?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's not often that we find ourselves in the company of each other and other veterans. But when we do, it's like, maybe if it's just for a little while, it's reminiscent of, memories, days.
Yeah.
If you can joke around on that same level
Right.
with other veterans, it's I guess, what's the word? It's relieving, I guess.
Yeah.
To be able to just think back.
Yeah, we're also able to kind of, I don't know, we don't have to go into explaining why. We can just be like, man, we get it. Maybe the experiences weren't exactly the same, but we understand what it's like to be in a unit and be around people, like-minded people, like serving the same goal. You know what I mean? And then there's something within that, all like suffering together in the sense of like working long hours, hearing the same bullshit, whatever, and then just still making it happen. Agreeing to disagree. Yeah. Like, I don't give a fuck what your race is. I don't give a fuck what you believe in. We got to get the shit done. And then afterwards, we don't have to talk if we don't want to, or we can hang out, whatever. And it's just that general understanding.
It is, it's hard to find yourself in that company.
Right.
It's not that it's hard to, people think like, oh, it's so hard for veterans. It's not necessarily hard for us.
Right.
It's just different.
Yeah.
As time goes on, like I find that, I'm okay with just being around people that have never served. Mm-hmm. It's not a big deal. Like, my last job, I was the only veteran in that spot. And so, it was hard to really relay my thought process to other people because I have to go and explain it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say, hey, I'm trying to give them like a
nugget.
Like a nugget. Like, hey, this is this. And I don't want to explain it.
Right.
But my ultimate, where I've landed in barbering, a lot of that is because I know it's a step down from what I used to do. I know it's a step down from my potential in like an academic, from an academic standpoint. But there's no bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't have to, if I don't want to go to work that day, I don't have to.
Right.
And I don't have somebody breathing down my neck.
I don't really want, I can see how you think that, like it's a step down, but I wouldn't say that. I would say it's just like, it gives you the freedom. You get to do something. You get to like learn a different skill, and it's like an art to it. You bring, because I know my brother-in-law, right? He's a barber, and a lot of times he has these like wild conversations with people in the chair. It's just like you get this pulse on the world, the other people. It's like you're more connected with what our general society is actually thinking, rather than those that, that the message that kind of just goes out generally, like everyone's upset, everyone's divided, but most people that you talk to, like on the ground level, they're just got everyday problems. You know what I mean?
You get the raw info.
Yeah, you get the raw info, and
as opposed to the interface that whatever outlet wants you to see.
Exactly, because they're just there, like they're relaxed, and with that, it's also it's therapeutic for them whether they realize it or not, because they're like just venting. And I'm not saying all of them do, because I'm pretty sure you have people that don't even talk at all, or they're on their phone or whatever. But there is a lot of them that they go in, they need a haircut, and then they leave feeling better because they're like, they have this, I don't know.
They unload,
and then they also like look good when they leave, and that's
fresh.
Yeah, they look fresh. That's probably a better word.
Crispy and fresh.
Yeah. Because I mean, I know when I go and I get a haircut, like that's something that when I leave, I feel better. You know what I mean? I feel like fresh. You know what I mean? Like whether you get like a clean shave or you, and that's all like that's in like the realm of like being a healer, if you will. It's like you're there, people are venting, they're doing all these things, and then you're making them feel better, and they're leaving. Like I think that's like an important part of society. I think the history with barbers is they used to be like in the medical field.
Barber surgeons
and stuff like that. So there is a history with
bloodletting
and stuff like that. Speaking of bloodletting, that's what my wife does. That's one of the things they do is bloodletting and Chinese acupuncture.
I don't do that.
Yeah, I don't do it. It's not one of my services.
I don't do that.
Yeah, but no. And then so it seems like, I mean, I don't know if you get something from that when somebody leaves your chair and you're like, damn, that looks good or whatever. Like you kind of feel good about yourself or at all. If there's some type of trade off, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes. For the most part, yeah. If the haircut's good, not every haircut's perfect though.
Yeah, but that's to you, right?
Yeah.
You only know that because you're the artist, right? You have an idea of what they want, and then when they leave, you're just like critical of yourself. Like anytime, I'll like any of these videos I put out, I'm like, fuck, I fucked up right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Other people don't know,
Yeah.
but I know. I'm like, I need to catch that next time.
Yeah.
I need to get better next time. But it's just the reality of you have an idea of what you want. It doesn't always come out the way you want it to, but you try to get better each time.
I've had situations where I'm killing myself over a haircut. Yeah. I'm trying hard, and I get it done, and I see the person walking away, and I'm just like so disappointed with how I did. Like, man, that's like the worst haircut I've ever done. Yeah. And the person will be like, "Oh my god, this is like the best haircut I've ever had." Yeah. Here's like another 20.
Yeah.
Like, holy smokes! Are you sure? Like,
yeah,
I'll be back next week.
But that's the level of like I think that's what makes a good person at anything they're trying to do is that self-awareness of like that's not my best. I want to give it my best. So every person that comes in the chair after that, you're gonna try to improve on it.
But I don't want to keep someone in the chair for like 2 hours because that's not fun sometimes.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I'm sure that's because you also have to manage your time. You have to manage their time.
Their time,
Yes, and then appreciate it. And at the same time, like you're trying to make more money too, so you can't always have the same person in the chair. Yeah, for a long period of time.
But yeah, you asked me about where you could find me. Actually, tomorrow I'm going in for a meeting to see if I can come in on Thursday to a new spot that opened up next to close to my house. The original location is it's called Fine Line Barbershop. It's located on Culebra. The owner John, he opened up a second location on Culebra, and I guess it's Steuben Road at that point. Okay. On 1516 next to the Summer Moon there. I'll be there. Hoping that maybe Thursday, I guess it could be a hard or a soft open with the hard open date, I guess at a later date. I'll have to talk to him, but...
Well, I'm pretty sure you update your social media page, right?
Yeah, so my social media page, my Instagram page, Joey Two Bags, that's become like my motorcycle videos page. Yeah. Which is one of my mental outlets, mental health break outlets. But I have under the website a link to a new page that I made for barbering. I feel like because I took such a long break from that hustle of the barbering, like when I was really in the thick of it at Well Blended, I wanted to start fresh. Not that I needed to start a new chapter.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Start fresh because I felt like, hey, if I really had this big of a break, I'm going to start fresh with new haircuts, new Instagram page, nice, new shop, all that. So, Fine Line Barbershop. I think it's 11831 Culebra Road. Nice, next to the Summer Moon. It used to be Champs Barbershop, but Champs closed down.
Got you. So, yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you just kind of like, bullshitting with me, saying how it is. And, if you guys want to check them out, go to Joey Two Bags. Is that
Instagram Joey Two Bags is my motorcycle Instagram page.
Yeah, maybe that's something we can get into next time. It's like motorcycles and stuff like that. And it's something I never really got into just because every time. That's a whole different story.
Yeah,
but
that's something I've had like in and out of my life too, motorcycles.
Yeah, every time I tried to get into them, I was either breaking something or whatever, and then I would go into the orthopedics, and I would see people in fucking, from crotch rockets mainly, but it was like fucking rods in their arm and their leg and shit. It's like, maybe it's not a good idea because I'm not that smart, but
it's the reality.
Yeah, man.
You, it's kind of like one of those pay to play. Like you should know what you're getting into.
Yeah,
it's a dangerous hobby.
Yeah,
I mean I've had friends that died from it. Yeah. I've had several friends that died. I had a friend that died the weekend we got back from Afghanistan.
Oh, wow.
She survived a whole year in Afghanistan, came back that weekend. She died in a motorcycle accident.
Damn. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's dangerous.
Yeah, it definitely is, especially when you're riding around people that are not used to riding around motorcycles. But, man. Thanks again. Did you say you wanted something else?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was that dish that you made this morning? Because that thing was...
Oh, it was
amazing. It was amazing.
I don't even have a name for it, honestly. That's something I want to probably venture into. Is start go to school to become a chef.
Just like a culinary thing?
Yeah, culinary thing. I just need to call them back and set it up. Last time I was trying to do it, there was too many things happening, and I was like, well, maybe it's not time yet. So now I'm kind of going into winter and stuff. I have more time and stuff, but yeah, I don't even know the name of it. It was for those folks that don't know. I made a dish with sweet potatoes, chorizo, and some seasonings, and then with some eggs. It's kind of like a play on a Spanish dish I got when I was in Spain. It was just like what they call them, hot fry, or not hot fries. Something with like diced up potatoes, and then they threw like a over easy egg on top with some vegetables and stuff. But yeah, it's just my play on it. But yeah, man, I'm glad you enjoyed that. There's some apples in there too, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, man, if you come on again, we'll do something different.
That sounds good, man.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, definitely. Anytime. Thanks for listening. Please check us out on Spotify, Pandora, Apple, anywhere you can find any your favorite streaming platform. Just search Crash and Chug. We're also on YouTube. Obviously, you're watching this, you see us on YouTube. But yeah, if you could, please share, subscribe if you feel the content is good enough. If you feel somebody else would benefit from hearing somebody's story or what have you, or would enjoy the podcast, share that with them. Look to try to keep this coming, have more guests on, and yeah, just keep this rolling. If you have any comments, throw them in there. Just try to be respectful. But yeah, thanks for listening, and yeah, man, thanks again. I appreciate it, and hopefully we get to get a ride in soon, man.
Yeah, I'm long overdue for a ride.
There you go.
A mountain bike ride.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I don't have a motorcycle, so it might be tough to keep up with the fucking bicycle.
Go. You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make a change. Rearrange all the bad to okay. Take the worst thoughts saying, turn them to a game. Take the best thoughts saying, put them on display. On repeat in your brain till you're feeling no more pain. Never slow yourself down, you can do some more. Push past all the pain and you'll find a door. Open it up and finally explore everything that you thought you could never do before.